Classroom management. Is there more? Yep. Teaching can be viewed in two ways. Teaching is a science. That is, the theories that form the foundation of all your teaching decisions. The science contains the tools you use to teach. Teaching is an art. That's the way you use the materials, the way you structure the classroom, the way you handle the classroom. Teaching is a science. That's how the teacher implements the theories and the subject matter and the technology she puts into the classroom. Teaching as an art is how you teach, how you can sense if the kids are getting it, how you know how to handle situations, the instinct that makes a teacher a master teacher. You can have science without art, but it is rare to have art without science. How do you become the teacher who uses the science of teaching in an artful, masterful way? How? Well, you have to be ready. You have to be ready to accept your class and their personalities. You have to be ready to accept your class's differences, their strengths, their problems, and their diversity. You have to be ready to plan lessons that will captivate the students, get them wanting to learn, get them involved in the lesson so they don't have to be involved with other things that you don't want them involved with. This takes time and skill. You have to make lessons real to the kids, something they'll want to learn about, give them a reason to learn, connect it to what they're learning in real life. You have to be effective. That's effective rules, procedures, consequences, compliments, and consistency. Don't make any rules or consequences for your class that you're not willing to follow through. And as we said, always be consistent and fair and let your students know you mean what you say. You know, we're trying to guide students towards autonomy or self-management. And you have to make procedures practical, and it has to have your compliments genuine. You've got to be attentive to details, to knowing those little signs that means your class is needing something. You've got to be attentive and proactive and not reactive. That's called with itness. Look for problem areas and try to stop them before they start. And also, pay attention to that student who's doing what they should. You know, we tend to pay 85% of our time thinking about and working with a child who's not in step with the class. What about the other ones? Be attentive to those who are in step. Introduce a positive reinforcement schedule. That simply means that each child's positive behavior should be noted, and whenever a child displays a certain amount of positive behavior, reinforce that behavior with a little token or something that shows that you care that they're behaving well. Many teachers say they have a positive reinforcement program, but they really don't. They still give all of their attention to the child that's causing behavior problems. Compliment or say something positive to every child at least twice every week, and for the difficult child every day. Kids need to know that you care. A simple kind word or smile means everything to a child. Take time to listen to your students. Give them adequate time to share. Trust your instincts and judgments. That is an art. Show the kids that you do care. Be diligent. Diligent to the do's. Do make directions, oral and written, clear and simple. And to the don'ts, so they know what not to do. You have to be diligent to a child. You know, sometimes a student comes into class in a bad mood. Something happened at the bus or at home. Students nowadays have a lot of baggage to carry. Well, help turn that bad mood around. Have a stack of paper that they can sort out. Have them sharpen a pencil for you. Anything that makes them a helper and helps them get into a better mood for the day. Be student-centered. Student-centered, that's the trick. Be ready. Be effective. Be attentive. Be diligent to the do's and the don'ts. And be student-centered. You know, I can almost hear you say, I don't have time to be ready and give my best because of homework. Almost all the things we're going to see now are things I call time-wasting activities. As we go through these, look and think, which do you waste most time on? Why? What's the solution? And as I said, homework is the first thing. Teachers say, I've got to get the kids started on their homework and check their homework or they're not going to turn it in. You know, it's not unusual to find teachers allocating 20 to 30 minutes per class for students to work on homework. This is equivalent to 72 full classes per year, or approximately 55 school days. We need to think, why do we give homework? Is it work they learn at home? Or is it schoolwork done at home? Does it really teach something to a student? Or are you supposed to be doing the teaching? If it's for reinforcement, do they really need the reinforcement after being at school all day, after going to an after-school program, going home to eat, then trying to get to bed at a decent time? Most comments I get from teachers are, I had homework. I didn't mind it at all. It gave me a chance to do something with my parents. Do we need to think that? There is a time and place for homework, and it's not effective for certain grades at all. If you're going to start the class on homework, make that homework time productive for you to interact with the students, going over portfolios, tutoring, planning with the student. That's not time for you to sit down and take a break. Don't have time because of videos. You know, a number of teachers depend on videos as a major source of information and a substitute for higher level thinking. Unfortunately, our students are bombarded with the media. They're used to videos as entertainment. Older students tend to view instructional videos as either stories or not real situations. Many times they tune out the video. The question is, do they really learn from them? Often they'll learn more from manipulatives, experiments, demonstrations, than from a video. Videos. How do you select a good video? What about copyright laws? Do you know that if you copy something from the television, you have to erase it within 14 days? And if you intend to use it next year, you have to get permission? You know you need permission to show some videos? And of course, you must always view it before you use it. Laws change, and you need to find the latest guidelines. And beginning and changing classes. It's not uncommon for teachers to use 10 minutes or more to take attendance and begin teaching. If only 5 minutes per period is used, the loss amounts to approximately 4,500 minutes. That's 75 hours or 15 days during an academic year. And this includes transition time. In elementary school, it's going to and from specials, lunch, library, PE. In middle school, it's split lunches, band, or PE. All these transitions will waste valuable learning time if a teacher does not have a routine and have procedures set that the class knows to follow when they come into the classroom and when they leave the classroom. I've got a hint for you. Why not use the class secretary to put administrative things in order? Kids can't legally take roll, but they can tell you who's there and who's not there. Why not have students organize the classroom and know where to put things and have routines set? Another time-wasting activity is teacher absences. Learning suffers when a regular teacher is out of the class. New teachers can lose their job due to excessive absences. Subs cost money. Subs don't know how to teach your subject. They may teach it wrong or introduce too much information and confuse the kids. That means you're going to have to spend valuable time unteaching and reteaching. The best plan is to have a sub box. It's a folder which contains lesson plans for the sub. These can be fun plans for the kids to learn mini lessons. Have lots for them to do with instructions, and not everything needs to be completed. These types of plans are easily found on the web. The box will also contain any of the materials the sub will need. The sub will thank you, and you'll thank the sub. Pullout and extracurriculars. Valuable teaching time is lost when students are released from scheduled classes like assemblies, pep rallies, fire drills. You don't have control over most of these situations, but you have to be aware. It's almost impossible to estimate how many days are lost to extracurricular activities, like imagination destination and spelling bees. When a number of students are absent from class, all too often only one option seems available. That option is to save the planned lesson and fill in with fun extensions or game time. Kids are pulled out because of ESL, content mastery, speech therapy, dyslexia programs, special ed. Catching them up is hard for you and redundant for the kids. You need to have a plan in action for pullouts. Some teachers say, I try to teach, but they don't make it easy. I try to cover everything I need, but we run out of time. I have to go so fast. Kids today, they don't want to learn. They text other students. They pass notes. They make fun of things. They ignore me. They just misbehave. They don't care. What can I do? Well, you need to respond to misbehavior. And that is a big thing to learn. The first thing is you need to focus on the behavior, not on the child. When you need to make a correction, it's the behavior that was wrong, not the child. The behavior is never bad. It was the wrong thing to do at that time. They made the wrong choice. Allow your students to experience logical consequences. For example, if they throw the trash in the hall, you get the custodian to have them help clean up. Natural consequences are a part of the real world. This means that sometimes you can ignore minor misbehavior when appropriate. For example, if a student constantly clicks on a pencil, chances are it'll irritate the others. Sooner or later, one of his classmates will say, "Stop that clicking, it's driving me nuts." Interrupt or stop behavior that's harmful or unfair to anyone. Behavior that interrupts the flow of the lesson and draws attention away from the teacher, that stops others from learning, is unfair and must be stopped. Bullying and harmful contact must also be stopped. Be consistent. That is a key point. Once something is wrong, it's always wrong for everyone. And if a certain consequence follows a certain wrong action, that consequence is the same for everyone. For example, if losing 2 points for going to the room library before the work is completed is a consequence, then everyone loses 2 points for doing that, not just certain students. You need to concentrate on shaping positive behavior. Like we mentioned before, tell them what they do is right. Model positive behavior. Reinforce positive behavior. When you're explaining rules and procedures to your students, don't show them what's wrong. Show them what's right. If all your students ever hear is you're talking about what was wrong, that tends to stick in their mind. We need to accent the positive. Have levels of warning. You know we all mess up at times. Should a first consequence that is never be repeated be as stern as the third time it's repeated? Most students, teachers rather, start out with a warning and then move on to some other stronger consequence. Of course, the choice is yours to make. You'll know what to do with your students. It'll be instinctive. What else? Well, help them develop a sense of autonomy. Autonomy means by themselves. Help students work out problems by themselves. Make them responsible for their work and their actions. Sometimes levels of consequences help with autonomy. And allow your students to make acceptable choices. Students love choices and challenges. Whenever possible, give students a choice, even if they're small ones. Whether it's a long-range project on a country they select, or coloring a map with crayons or markers or colored pencils, or choosing to do the odd questions or the even questions in a review at the back of a chapter. Giving them a choice makes quite a difference. And establish a supportive, positive, safe classroom environment where students feel as if they can take a risk with their learning. If they answer something wrong, it's okay. If their idea is in left field, well, we were only brainstorming and all our ideas are in a rough form. You need to let students know you will always like them just the way they are. This means that both the students and the teacher accept everyone for who they are, not for who we want them to be. You need to have well-designed creative lessons that challenge them. Remember, the best way to stop disruptive behavior is by well-designed, creative, challenging lessons. And remember, when you teach, you go from the known to the unknown, from the simple to the concrete. And when you're explaining a lesson, don't ramble. And don't forget, you need to establish clear rules and procedures. You're probably tired of our saying that. But having procedures for everything makes your room run like a well-oiled machine. In industry, in offices, even in fast food places, there are procedures to follow. They take the guesswork out of things. And the last is to encourage and students to practice self-discipline. That means they are responsible for actions. When you conference with them, ask them what they did that was wrong, how they should have acted, what they wanted if they got it, and what they could do to get the action or the attitude or the effect they wanted. Get them to determine what was right and what was wrong, and what consequences should be, and how they'll remember not to do it again. Have them practice monitoring themselves. Okay, that's what you should do. What should you avoid? Well, there are certain actions or responses to avoid. Holding a grudge, especially against a parent. There are some parents who will irritate you. They pick on every little thing you do, and they never seem to think their child is wrong about anything. They think they have nothing positive to say about your class. But don't hold that against the child. Don't hold little mistakes the child makes against them either. We all have our little irritating habits. Don't hold on to grudges from the day before. Wake up and start with a clean slate. And don't take comments personally. When a student says, "I hate you," what does that mean? You're ugly. This is the only way they can think to tell you that they're frustrated with you and school. Look behind the words to the thought and use your active listening techniques. Also, leave your personal problems at the door. Be careful of ejection. This is the big guns. If you make the child leave the room, what are you going to do next? Each school district has a student code of conduct, which is posted. It regulates when a student may be removed from a classroom. A student with an IEP may have certain restrictions about removal. You need to be aware of these rules and the student's IEP and their limitations. Remember, we operate on the least restrictive environment. Ejecting a child from a room sometimes is restricting him. You know, it's a good idea to have something called a study carrel, sometimes called a learning desk, since it can be used by a child who has work to make up or a child who needs to read his test out loud. It's a desk which can be shielded from the others, like putting a science fair project poster around the desk, not the project, but one of those posters. Put the desk in a little area which can be seen by you, but the child is not seeing the other students, and the other students are not attracted to the child. This gives them a calming down time. Another response to avoid is more work. This does not improve learning. In fact, it decreases learning. Should we punish by giving more work? What does that tell the students? That work is punishment? And threats. Don't make threats. Know what's legal to say. Know what's legal to take away from a child. You can't legally take away PE, music, or academic subjects. When I was teaching, I would get so angry, I would say, I am so angry with what you did, I feel like taking your recess until you're of voting age. But I'll wait to determine what your punishment is until I calm down just a little. Then we'll discuss how to handle this. Right now, you'll stay at the learning desk. This usually scared the squatchy out of the student because they never knew it was going to happen later. You got to think, is the punishment punishing you? Does the punishment fit the crime? And whatever you decide to do, make sure you can carry through. Because if you can't, then the punishment is on you. Correct wrong behavior, but still try to like the child. And don't give meaningless consequences. A meaningless consequence does nothing to redirect the child or improve behavior. Meaningless consequences are like writing 100 times, I will pay attention in class. I will pay attention in class. I've got another story to tell you. When I was in school, the big punishment used to be writing lines. And it seemed like I was always writing lines for one thing or another. One Christmas vacation, I was at home and the family was watching television. And I got out some notebook paper and I started writing, I will not. And I skipped a line, I will not. And I skipped a line, I will not. And skipped a line, I will not. And I wrote it over and over and over and over and over until I had like 15 pages of I will nots. When I went back to school, all I had to do was fill in what I wasn't going to do. Meaningless consequence, wasn't it? I don't think I learned from it. I don't think the teacher realized what was going on either. You know the 3 R's? Reading, writing, arithmetic. There are 3 R's for teachers. Teachers are important. Teachers are influential. Teachers are able to make a difference. The bottom line is you. You are a teacher. You are important. You are influential. You are able to make a difference. You can do it. Okay, now you're ready. You're ready to manage your classroom. You know how to discipline, how to get kids to comply with your rules and procedures, the traps to avoid. You know about flow of traffic. You know about the flow of the day. You know about how to be with it. You know how to set up rules and procedures. You know about taking time-wasting activities away from your day. You know how not to stop the momentum of your teaching. You know to think about a behavior plan you can start out with. You know about developing a class bond. You know about levels of discipline. You know about consistency. You will also be ready to think about how you're going to communicate your ideas, your rules, your procedures, your compliments, your consequences to the students and to the parents. You're ready. You've learned the keys to successful teaching. And one of the things is that we believe all children can learn. All children instinctively want to learn from the time that they're little. They want to learn more and new and challenging things. The key is to make them want to learn what we teach. Did you know there is absolutely no research that correlates between success and family background, between success and race, between success and national origin, between success and financial status, or even between success and educational accomplishments. But there is one correlation with success, and that is attitude. The attitude you have for the students, and the attitude they have to you and your class.